Any age group I talk to, people are like, this is really exciting that this is happening. Way to go, this is leading edge. We are leading the world in this. And it's funny when you think about it, because for the last 100 years, you've been hiding a gram of it in the back of your pocket and can't even talk to anybody about it. And now, now I hand it out in my house and people, have some of this. It's got a government excise stamp on it. It's wonderful. It's funny because I started in wind power in 2001. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, we're going to do a big wind farm that's green energy and it's going to help, reduce carbon dioxide and all these things, or you're going to be CEO of a cannabis company. What's going to cause more problems? Like, what do you think? Everyone would have said, oh, drugs, bad. Cannabis, I would say, I don't think I've had one person ever approach me and say, how can you sleep at night? With wind, every day. I can't believe you're going to ruin this. Even in our wildest dreams, we thought maybe we'd become a medical supplier, and that would be, that would be a big deal. But to see something go from 25 people this time last year to 200 to 300 by June, and then to see all of the stuff happening around it, and I would never have thought that this would be where I would end up. The funniest part of the whole thing was when Nick Van Haren, who's one of the early partners in the business, said, what about partnering with the HIP? And this was literally the summer where the HIP were doing their big tour. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh yeah, great idea, Nick. Yeah, why don't we see if we can get the Pope to join the board of directors too? Like, what are the odds here? And so my sister actually works as VP at Live Nation, and so talked to her a little bit about the whole idea. And then we actually got talking to the HIP and management about the idea of them coming on as real partners in the business, and how could, their interest in cannabis and what we were doing, how could we integrate the two of these things together? They represent kind of everything that was Canadian, right, for all of us in this country. And then you tie this into the cannabis piece, which is one of the more interesting business opportunities in the world in a long time. And it is a perfect match. So we spent a lot of time working with them this past summer. We had a lot of these events up north, and those guys were really, really good at not just putting their name behind it, because that's not what they do. And you realize with them, if they're going to do something, they're going to do it and get into it. And that's really what they've done. I think the one thing that we've tried to really encourage is that feeling that we're here also to work, but this is fun and this should be exciting for people. And you as a group are a part of something that's happened for the first time ever, and it happens to be cannabis. Like you start layering it on to people, and you see it, and I see it every day in the plants. People are working in an environment that they like. You get a sense that people are really excited to be a part of it and to be a part of the company. Certainly we try and make sure that we're running a business where people want to be there. We're just implementing a new stock option plan for employees. So it's important that people have a sense of ownership in what we're doing too. When you're in this role too, I find more and more, I look forward to Friday night, like in this room by that fire with that dog and my wife, a glass of wine. Because there is a lot, there's a lot of socialization. You're socializing all the time with people, and it's good, but you do somewhat retreat a little bit, I find. I've been doing a lot of long distance triathlons for a long time. I've done a lot of Ironman distance racing. I think the triathlon for me is more of a stress mechanism than anything else. Especially in Ironman, you have 12 hours to yourself, you can't talk to anybody, you're gone. I mean, I enjoy this role for sure. There's certainly days where it's really difficult, but certainly in the cannabis thing, it's been easier to be enthusiastic about it because it is exciting. Everyone you talk to wants to talk to you about it. Wind, not so much. I mean, wind was interesting at first, and then it's like, whereas in this, virtually everyone you talk to wants to see what you're doing. And that's what's so neat about Niagara and bringing people there is you see this, and you're like, wow, this is actually happening. You read about it, and we all know it's coming, but it's to see people in a plant where, today you saw just spitting out bud after bud after bud. I mean, it's so unusual. If you look back at the Up story specifically, I think for me, it's people saying, these guys went out on a massive limb and brought the most iconic group of Canadians into what is arguably one of the most interesting Canadian business stories of all time. Brought it together to create a brand and an association, not just a brand, because it's an association and it's a feeling that goes along with it that I think people over time will develop, just like they do with a beer or with any other product. And I hope that's where things end up with us, is where people say, wow, these guys really did something that was a little bit different in this market, dominated by, right now, some pretty huge companies, and did something that felt very Canadian, and I think we will do that. I think we will have an impact where that brand will become a brand that people associate with. Maybe not internationally, and I'm not really that concerned about that. And it's almost like the hip when you think about it. Great brand in Canada, not actually that well known around the rest of the world, but guess what? People in this country love everything about them and they love what they created. So almost in that same vein, it's, let's create something that we're proud of as a country and people, associate with when they go to a dock and are listening to Bob Cage and, hey, this makes sense to me. This product, I can feel why it makes sense to me. I think that would be the most important thing for me.